Crown and Indigenous Relations Minister Carolyn Bennett just spent over 2 hours taking questions and making her pitch for one of the key promises from the government on the Indigenous file, and that's this recognition of Indigenous rights framework. Basically, what this framework aims to do is to take Section 35 rights in the Constitution that affirm Indigenous rights and place them into a federal law. Now, for years, there's been a gap between what courts say about Indigenous rights and government policy. This has created a lot of uncertainty and legal battles, as we recently saw with the Federal Court of Appeal decision on the Trans Mountain Pipeline. Now, 5 months into this process, there's a lot of concerns about the transparency and whether the government is controlling the engagement process for this. So the minister was here to basically deal with those concerns, to tell chiefs nothing is finished. We want to hear from you, and really this framework is about restricting the federal government's ability to interfere with your Indigenous rights. Here's a little bit of what she had to say this morning.
The Prime Minister described a new approach, one that recognizes your rights straight off. And we are serious about moving from a denial of rights approach to a recognition and affirming of rights approach. I've heard many of you say that your rights are not negotiated, and I totally agree. What we are working together to do is to find that path to implementing your rights and then holding Canada to account.
So, Jorge, what did the chiefs have to say about Bennett's speech?
Well, it was a mixed reaction. Chiefs are saying, we welcome that the government wants to do this, but we have still concerns that you haven't addressed that. The words, which sound really well, really great, don't really match what we've seen in terms of materials that have been produced in this process to create this framework. Chiefs are asking, well, where do the provinces fit in? Because they have jurisdiction over resources. They're asking, well, what about this framework, and does it apply to reserve lands or our claimed territory? I mean, there's a lot of questions, and the message is we got to slow this down, but the government has a self-imposed deadline on this. They want to table something by the fall, so it goes through the parliamentary process in the spring. But if the government doesn't get this right, they could face an idle no more like resistance to this. So the stakes are really high.
The CBC's Jorge Barrera in Gatineau, Quebec.